Hello, good evening. Welcome everybody to our live Monday night special from Courtroom Confidential, the fastest growing true crime news channel on YouTube. Thank you everybody for being here. Sorry that we are a couple minutes late. My father was a Marine and a boxer, and he was a lawyer. And he also, we are of Germanic and a bunch of other mixed in there stuff, but Germanic descent, and therefore promptness was highly valued in our household. You were on time to everything. So believe me, I get flashback anxiety when I know that we're even a couple of minutes late. So I will make it up to you on the back end. Thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate you. My name is Joshua Ritter. I am a former prosecutor with the LA District Attorney's Office. I left there after about 10 years to go into private practice as a criminal defense attorney. This is, of course, Courtroom Confidential, where we try our best to present to you both sides of the courtroom. We hope that we do that. And this is our live Monday night special where we just kind of catch up on things from last week that maybe didn't make the weekly roundup, tell you what to expect for this week. And tonight we have a really good show for you because there has been, again, in the case that just keeps on giving, in the Bryan Kohberger case, there is more new revelations with a document dump of over 500 new pages. And so I called up one of my good friends, but she's also one of the, I would say, experts on this case. She's been following the case from the very beginning. She was up in Moscow when it all happened. And she's also the reason why I'm late. So everybody, I'm going to hush up. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you share this with somebody that you think might enjoy it. And then please stay to the end. As always, we have some fun announcements for you. But let me get Angenette up here before I continue talking. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Is that okay? I call you an expert on this case. I think you kind of are.
Well, yeah. So here's the deal. I think I am an expert on this case, but I was on somebody's show the other night and I was with people who are really experts.
Yeah.
You know, like have like alphabet soup after their name.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very inadequate. And I was literally like, well, you guys are the experts. I mean, you know, like I just like report on this stuff and like obsess over it and read like copious numbers of like amounts of court documents and all this jazz. And they're like, you're an expert. You're an expert.
No, I think that makes you an expert.
They have alphabet soup. They said I was an expert. So I would say
I don't think you need alphabet soup after your name to be an expert on this case. I think when I think of an expert on this case, it's somebody who's been following it from the beginning, knows all the details. I mean, you were up. Anybody who went all the way up to Moscow has been to the home, was talking to people in that community. I saw you the other night on your channel going through all 500 something pages of this new information. Right. I would say that qualifies you as an expert.
Yeah, I've been to Moscow a few times and talked to a lot of people up there, or at least tried to, and got lots of doors slammed in my face, which is fine. I'm used to that, you know. But yes, so I would say I'm an expert. And so yeah, we have a lot to talk about, I think. I think we have a lot to discuss.
Now that we got that out of the way, now that we've fully qualified you as an expert as far as for our purposes, one of the things that has really kind of lit the internet on fire on this case, there was recently a whole dump, 500 something pages of documents were just released. A lot of it has to do with interviews of prior people he went to school with, prior professors, staff members, but some of it is some information dealing with interviews of the surviving victims.
Right.
And one in particular was, there is a quote, and I think we have it. Do we have it, Kaylin? Okay. There is a page from a report that is attributed to Dylan Mortensen, who was one of the surviving roommates. Here is Ethan, Maddie, Zaina, and Kaylee. Sorry, forgive me for that. One of the surviving roommates, though, Dylan Mortensen, she famously had been the one to say, originally the quote that we had heard was something along the lines of, "It's okay. I'm here to help. But now there is this document here, and you've outlined it for us, where a quote attributed to her, if you guys can see there in section B, says sometime in the morning hours, redacted was woken up, opened her room door. We now know this to be Dylan, and heard a male say, "It's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you." And she heard crying. She then shut her door. A short while later, she sees someone approximately 5'10", dressed all in black in a ski mask, standing in the kitchen, made eye contact with this person. So this is where everybody is starting to run with this and say, oh my God, he knew them. He knew Kaylee. He was there for Kaylee. He called her by name. But you and I have talked about this. There's actually some recent reporting done on this. We feel that everybody kind of needs to pump the brakes on this one. Could you walk us through that a little bit?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Josh, the minute I heard this being reported, I felt like everybody needed to pump the brakes because they've been saying for some time that there was no connection.
Right.
So they've said there's zero connection. They could find zero connection. In all of the court documents we read where they wanted to get Dylan's statements thrown out, the defense did, about his, we don't want her being able to say bushy eyebrows. The defense was very meticulous, and they laid out all of her. I mean, they went through her statements with a fine-tooth comb. Not once in one court document did we ever hear or read or hear this in court when this was argued that he said this or that Dylan said he said this.
Yeah.
So it got my antenna up. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like when I first heard this reported last week, I'm like, that makes zero sense. This has got to be, there's got to be something not right here. And so I started going through the documents. And I immediately started looking for this because I'm like, this is like the first time we've heard this. If you look at this, I think this is simply telephone game type stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is a report from Talbot, the lead CSI on the case. And he is recounting the briefing in his report. This report, I think, was written in December 6th or something like that. He is writing a report about a briefing he received from another officer. So that officer would have gotten information from another officer. So he's being told, this is what we're being told by the surviving roommate, the only witness who sees this guy in the house. This is what she said. This could have easily gotten jumbled up. And he puts it in his report. Nowhere in Dylan Mortenson's, the narratives of her reports, does she ever say, or is she ever quoted as saying that the guy said Kaylee's name? In fact, she thought, it was Kaylee crying, but the only thing she said was the whole, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." And she said she heard, and this was a officer describing what she said, that she heard who she thought was Kaylee crying. Later, she realized it was likely Xana. And that he said, "I'm here for you." And that's just the officer recounting what she saw, what she said, or paraphrasing what she said. So I don't think she ever said this.
No, I agree with you. And I think it's a good lesson for everybody to understand how these reports are compiled and what are the purpose of a lot of these reports. A lot of these reports are supplemental reports. They are reports where they're taking prior information, summarizing all of that information, and then perhaps adding to it with new information. Mm-hmm. But they're like you said, they're reports upon reports. It's carbon copy, carbon copy, carbon copy, and it's this telephone game. So you're absolutely right. So Detective Jeff Talbot is the author of this report. But this report was relayed, the information in there was relayed to him by Moscow Police Sergeant Dustin Blaker. And we don't even know for sure if Blaker got that information directly from the mouth of Dylan Mortenson. So
Blaker, and Blaker, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Blaker he was one of the officers who interviewed Dylan 2 days later. But Talbot's talking about the briefing he got when he arrived on scene on November 13th, because he was going to be the lead CSI collecting evidence in the house.
Right.
So somebody told this to Blaker, and then Blaker tells Talbot. And so there could have just been confusion in what she said.
Yes. Later on, other reports are done. Again, not reports of direct interviews of her, but people reporting on, including her statements in their reports, including Moscow police officer Mitch Nunez, who says that she said, "You're going to be fine. I'm going to help you." No mention of Kaylee's name. And then another portion where this is included is in the affidavit. She is quoted as saying, "It's okay. I'm going to help you." Mm-hmm. And again, this is just a great example of, now we have 3 or 4 different iterations of essentially the same thing. And that's why when prosecutors are preparing for trial, they don't go, "Okay, this is what that person said because I read it in a report." They go, "Get me that person. What I want to speak to that person who's apparently the one that we're all saying said this." Or where's the actual recorded interview of this person? Where do I know that those words actually left their mouth? Because it's not, and again, I don't mean to say that it's sloppiness or laziness or bad police work. It's just not the nature of why they're writing these reports. They're writing these reports to kind of compile information, perhaps for another purpose, and not specifically to be giving you a quote that they feel is so important in regards to what this one person is saying. To that same end, Kevin Fixler, who we both know, he's been on the show many times, from the Idaho Statesman, came out. He sent me this minutes ago. This was sent to me 4:24, so half an hour before we started to go live here. He got a statement from Anthony Dollinger, who's the Moscow police chief, whose quote was, "The investigators do not believe the suspect uttered any names. What was confirmed was that Dylan reported hearing a male's voice stating something to the effect of, 'It's okay, I'm going to, or I'm here to help you.'" So no mention of a name. Just somehow it's one of those things that got in there and just kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I did 2 episodes of my podcast today, Crime Fix, on this.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, I've read so many of Dylan's accounts of what Dylan said, and, the motions, and now reports of what Dylan said. So I immediately, as I told you, it had my antenna up when I heard that this was being reported last week. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. I've never heard that. We would have heard that by now.
Yeah.
And so I simply think this could have been confusion at the scene. The lead CSI puts this in his report because maybe somebody thought that's what she said, or maybe, the victim's name is Kaylee and they thought she said that he said that, or whatever. Things can get jumbled up. But that's not why, as you said, this is not why this report was being written. It wasn't for the truth of what Dylan Mortensen told detectives. This was a CSI saying, "This is the briefing I received when I got on scene, and this is what I was told." So that's influencing and giving him a layout of what they're dealing with. So when he goes into the house, he knows what to look out for, or he knows what. My mic's been falling all day long. I have to figure out what's going on. Sorry about that. So he knows what he's dealing with. He knows, okay, I've got a quadruple homicide. There was a suspect in the house. He said this. Weird. And if he thinks it's the guy said Kaylee's name, then maybe he's looking for stuff related to Kaylee as he's scanning her room or whatever, or assigning fellow CSIs to help do this and do that and because he was the lead. So I don't know. I just immediately, I didn't even touch this today because I was like, I didn't report this.
Yeah.
I don't think it's true. Actually, I know it's not true. And I just reported because I did a whole thing on Dylan, and I didn't even talk about this because I just was like, I knew that she didn't say it because I've read all the reports. So I was like, why? I'm not going to go digging into somebody else's. I just think you got to looking at a CSI statement like that in there is, and then you have to go back and look at Dylan's stuff. There's 2 reports from Dylan in here. Nowhere does she say that. So plus we've got a Moscow PD report on her interview. So you got to kind of go back and like cross-reference before you start running with stuff like that.
Like I said, I think the reason why I am so hyped up about it is because I think it really demonstrates one, what the purpose of these reports are, 2, a fast moving fluid investigation. You're going to get these little kind of anomalies here or there. And what ends up happening is you get to trial, and in the hands of a skilled defense attorney, who I consider myself amongst that group, they're going to cling to stuff like this. They're going to say, well, wait a minute. This report right here says Kaylee was said, or whatever small thing it is that they're trying to make great hay out of, they're going to highlight. And it just shows you that sometimes it's not because police are lying. It's not because there's a cover up. It's not because there's, she said this one time and then took it back. It's just because somehow this wrong information, I don't even want to call it false, because it's not like there was some sort of
there was no nefarious
intent behind it. Yeah. No, it's just some sort of information got in there that was incorrect. And you're right. They're writing all these reports, and each of them have a different purpose. And so some of these details are not even important to that report.
Right. The Talbot writing this in his report has nothing to do with Dylan Mortensen. Right. I mean, it has nothing. Like, if I'm Ann Taylor and I'm going to cross-examine Dylan Mortensen on a CSI's report saying she said this, then I need to go back to law school or, to maybe traffic court and learn how to like do a case, because you're not going to win any points doing that. And second of all, I just think that people who reported this is like, oh my God, like they needed to take a breath and step back and actually look at what they were reading before they blasted this out there like it was true. I'm like, because they said there was no connection. They could find no connection. So,
and believe me, if they had a connection like this, as strong as this, him having said their name, one of their names, I do believe that would be at the front of the things that we would have learned about. I think that would have been like one of the main things they would have talked about, is that we know he knew the name of one of the people. But the fact that police are not talking about that makes you feel that it wasn't a part of their ongoing pursuit. They knew that not to be true because they'd spoken to her several times.
I think it was a miscommunication. I think that's a busy scene. It's a complex scene. You get on there, then one guy says to the other, you're like, yeah, he said, Kaylee, I'm here. Okay. Like, okay, Kaylee, the God only knows if somebody mixed up a word or a sound and misunderstood what somebody said. Like, we just don't know. And she thought it was Kaylee running down the steps. We now know it couldn't have been Kaylee. Kaylee was up in the bed. So, there's just confusion and stuff. And so we're talking early days of the investigation, like that day. And this he's probably scribbling notes down, or maybe he's got a tape recorder. I don't know how these CSIs do their stuff, but scribbling notes down. He's being briefed, and he's got a quadruple homicide scene to start processing. That's what his focus is.
These crime scenes, when they are like this and this big and so many people involved, it's just a mass of people, and everybody's doing something, and everybody's writing notes and going to go back later and compile reports. And the fact that some of these little anomalies end up shouldn't be surprising to any of us at all.
Yeah.
Bluebird says, what do you think about the temporary restraining order admitted today to prevent the police department from releasing future documents? I saw that just recently. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well, I actually saw it last week because we have some records requests in, and we were being told they could be delayed because of somebody filing for a TRO. And basically what it is Maddie Mogan's mother, Karen Laramie, she has filed for a temporary restraining order. Well, she wants an injunction, actually, but she's filed and been granted a TRO because she said that I wouldn't even call them crime scene photos. I'd call them walkthrough photos taken by Moscow police. you know, because ISP is the one that actually processed the scene and took the crime scene photos. They released those to KTVB and some other places, and they show, they're redacted, but they show the victims, although they are blurred.
Do we
And
know, is it the actual victims, or is it blood markings on the floor where
No,
they were?
I think everybody's been pretty classy at this point. The outlets that actually have possession of these and not shown what all is in there.
Okay. I
But
thought that they were maybe after they had been removed from the scene and they were pictures, but you're saying they're still on the scene, but they're
correct,
just blurred out. Okay.
right. So they're redacted, and they but they show the victims. The victims are blurred. They are redacted. But she is asking the court to prohibit the release of any more photographs or videos that show the inside of Maddie's bedroom.
Mm.
And she's won a TRO on that for now, but she wants a further hearing. She's seeking injunctive relief. And so the city of Moscow, in response, has said, because she's been granted this TRO, we're not going to release any more videos or photos of or recordings that show the bedrooms where the victims are until this hearing or whatever. Judge Marshall, who was the judge who signed off on all the search warrants and stuff in this case, she apparently said during a hearing that some of these photos, you know, there isn't an invasion of privacy. So she kind of is saying that some of these photos, like, look, I mean, even though they're in the bedroom, they are not, these are not an invasion of privacy. But she said she could see how others might be. Yeah. So she granted the TRO, and there will be a hearing. But, you know, I'm sure, I know us, like, I know I, for one, only showed Maddie's boots that were on the floor. I certainly would never show somebody's child, deceased in a bed, or anybody's child for that matter, in that state on television or on YouTube. You know, YouTube's basically TV these days. Right. So, but some people would. And so I can't even imagine what Karen Laramie is going through, because, and her husband, Scott. I mean, I can only imagine. Josh, you're a dad. I'm a mom. We can only imagine what she is going through. No. However, you know, there's also that part of me that, you know, the journalist in me who says, you know, these are records. So there's a balancing act. But see, somebody like me who gets something like this, I'm not going to put it out there. Right. But other people may not be so discerning. No, so,
I think other folks couldn't get it out there soon enough. I think some people are just not even thinking about the effects it might have on the family. I can't imagine the nightmare that they continue to go through. The strength that they have shown to be able to put one foot in front of the other is just beyond me. But yeah, I feel like
Maddie,
a little bit of
mom. I hate to interrupt you, Josh. It's her only child.
Yeah.
Maddie was her only child. And, you know, it's just, you can't imagine. We can't imagine. We're parents. We can only imagine. But you know what I mean? Like, she will not ever have another child.
Right.
And so, and she, if you watch that documentary One Night in Idaho, she talked about how she always made sure Maddie never cried.
I know.
Like, it was like she was very like loving and like never wanted Maddie to cry. So I'm sure like she and Maddie were very close. So anyway, I just, you know, it's a really tough kind of thing to balance there.
I agree. Let me move on, because there was something else you and I had talked about that I thought was really interesting. Your take on this, and that was in these reports, a lot of these reports, and we can get into it, but it's not to me as interesting as the stuff we're about to talk about. But a lot of these reports are like former students saying he was kind of creepy, professors saying, that this guy has got problems. One day he's going to, a lot of people, in other words, I guess the takeaway is that people felt that he was a strange guy, and that some people are not surprised that he was capable of doing something like this. And it does sound like he had a misogynistic streak in him, that he definitely treated women differently and had a disrespect toward them. Okay. The stuff that's interesting to me, though, is the evidence of perhaps his connection to, or were there other attempts, or was there even stalking of these girls or girl ahead of time? And Kaylee talks about believing that she was being stalked, and that someone had apparently broken into her car at one point, that the roommates felt that they were being watched. And I was talking to you about this, and I kind of had chalked it up as, well, girls at college, and then maybe they're just, is it maybe kind of hyperbolic and a little bit of overly dramatic. But then you made a point about the location of that home, and how these girls at that age do have kind of an intuition about being watched. And I don't want to take that away from you. So explain that to us.
Yeah, it was really interesting to me. Maybe interesting is the wrong word. I use that word too much, but it was more heartbreaking, I think is really the more accurate word, and sad, because one of the roommates who had moved out was interviewed by police in the days after the homicides. And she said that one of the reasons she didn't move back to the house, or go back to the house, and her name was apparently still on the lease, was because she didn't feel it was safe. And for somebody to say that, basically in this small college town, I mean, Moscow is a pretty idyllic college town. Before this happened, they hadn't had a homicide in like 7 years.
Yeah.
And the types of homicides they would have would be like, I don't know, like a domestic, and that's not to say that doesn't matter, but nothing like this, like a stranger with, purely innocent victims attacked in their beds while they're sleeping. You had women attacked in their beds while they were sleeping. Yeah. And she said that she always felt like at that house that they were being watched. She felt that way, that they were being watched, and that just the layout of the place, it kind of almost invited that.
Yeah.
Like you could be watched from many different angles. And she said that also the sliding glass door, you could kind of like jiggle it and it would come unlocked. So, and sometimes they'd forget to lock it or something like that. So I think women, I know women kind of have a sixth sense in many ways. And there's always that trust your gut. But she felt like, maybe it wasn't, she never really felt that safe there.
Yeah.
And so if you look at that photo you just had up, well, right there. Okay, look at that photo right there with the lights. That is taken kind of from that driveway that goes up to the Queen Road Apartments. If you went up a little farther, you could see directly into Maddie's bedroom from that parking lot. You could literally park there and just stare into her bedroom.
Yeah.
If the blinds were open. And this woman said that. She said it was the kind of place where they didn't have a lot of blinds or curtains. And so she just always felt uncomfortable there. And even through the slider down there, they have those like party lights on. Those were on for weeks, by the way, weeks and weeks after the homicides. It was so sad. It was like the whole place was frozen in time. You could just, and think about that. Those lights were on when Bryan Kohberger went through that sliding glass door. He was that bold.
Yeah.
to walk
Very
into
good
that
point. Very
house.
good point. Yeah.
So he walked right in through that door. They believe he parked up back on that parking lot I was talking about, and then came down there somehow, walked right in through that sliding glass door. And and he like walked right up there to Maddie's bedroom. Whether he went to Kaylee's room first, we don't know. Well, we won't know because they didn't ask him.
Right.
But to me, I've always thought it was Maddie, just because of, if you could park there, you could see right into Maddie's bedroom. So yeah, so I thought that was interesting that she felt that way. And then Kaylee, apparently some guy at Winco followed her out to her car. But the cops, I'm pretty sure, looked into all of that and determined that she didn't have a stalker. And the guy that followed her at Winco or approached her at Winco, they had surveillance footage of that. He was going to be one of Kohberger's alternate suspects at trial. And the state said that they actually Hippler, I'm sorry, said it in his ruling denying the request to present this evidence, or that person was tracked down, cooperated with the investigation, wanted to ask Kaylee for her number, but didn't, and provided his phone and his DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. Kaylin, do you mind going back to that overhead shot again? This is what I thought was kind of remarkable when you and I were talking about this idea of, I've always thought, people have been trying to speculate as to who was the target, what connection did he have to them before, where did he meet them, the whole thing with the what is the name of the Greek restaurant and all of that stuff. And I've always thought that something to not discount in those theories is maybe the house itself. Maybe there's something, the Mad Greek restaurant, maybe there's something about the house itself that he targeted them based upon that home. And this is why I wanted to show this photo. And we had kind of talked about this. This is not like a very densely housed area. In other words, the house that is the target home, there's no house to the left or right of it that would protect it from people looking inside or gaining entrance. The front is obviously open to the whole world. And then even the back of it is got that parking lot and kind of that wooded area. So if you wanted to observe people in a home, watch them for several days, observe their habits, this would be an ideal home for you to pick. It's not like you're going to have a bunch of trouble from a bunch of people, neighbors that are going to chase you off or prevent you from gaining access, or even notice that you're there, because it's on the corner too of those two streets, right? Do you have that map, Kaylin?
Yeah, it's not really a street per se.
Right.
I guess it kind of is. So okay, that's those two rectangles there to the right of the screen, to the right of the red dot. Those are the Queen Road apartments. So I guess that is technically a road. So if you went down Queen Road in front of the Queen Road apartments, so put your blue cursor up if you don't mind, and you go down that way. Okay, right? Go there. Like, go around. You can go all the way around the apartments, Josh. Even though it looks like the road ends, it doesn't. You can go all the way around the apartments, and then you can go back around and you can park right there. And you're basically in that little parking lot right there, and you're looking into Maddie's bedroom right there.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a hill like back behind your little green cursor thing. Like, if you were to go back up, there's just a big hill. Yeah. And it goes up to the Walenta Drive. So there's nothing really back there.
Yeah. So again, to my point, it's like if you wanted to like stalk someone, observe someone, target someone, pick out a home that might be a good home to commit a murder or an assault or whatever his original plan was, that home kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into the mind, if we want to like if you want to get into the mind of a crazy person, I guess, like a psycho, like it does lend itself to that. And I think part of the reason also is because there's a lot of traffic there, because those Queen Road apartments are right there. There's a lot of people coming and going. So, even when I was there were a lot of people. They would, pull in, there's DoorDash people. I was there. I met some DoorDash person packing heat, like there, he had a gun. He's like, yeah, I always carry a gun, but even though it seems like it's really isolated, it is a kind of a busy area because there are people coming into that area a lot and then pulling into the Queen Road apartments, and then maybe they're leaving, they're going to class, maybe they're going to work, or maybe they're getting, they're getting the DoorDash order or whatever. So there is a good amount of traffic there, despite, as you kind of point out, that the house is it is sort of, I guess, if you wanted to think of it like that, on its own little island there, because the apartments are right next to the house, separated by the driveway. And then there are the other houses down farther to, like if you moved your cursor toward Walenta, but down to Queen Road more, or King Road, because it's weird because it says Queen Road right there, but at the same time it's got a King Road address, so it's really bizarre.
Right.
But it's more densely populated down there. So,
do you have? I don't want to take up all your time. Do you have a couple minutes to answer some questions? Can you stick around for?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. First of all, let me thank Farm Girl for gifting a membership. Appreciate that, Farm Girl. And to Fala Dammit, that's how I'm going to say it, for gifting 5 memberships. Appreciate you. To Allie Foley for the gift of memberships. Appreciate you. Jody Arrington, thank you so much. And Alexis, thank you so much for gifting the memberships. This is fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being so generous. I appreciate it. This is kind of back to the interviews question we were talking about earlier, and whether or not Dylan said what she said that's in one part of the report, and they're asking if they were recorded. And I will tell you my experience, and then you tell me if you actually know in this case. But yes, many times they record these interviews, but that's kind of the point, is that the reports are reporting sometimes information that's been given to them by secondhand. So in other words, the author of the report that we may be reading may not have even been in the same room as Dylan, may not have ever even met Dylan, but because it's necessary for some aspect of their report, they're going to include that information, but they've been told that information by someone else. And like you said, to the game of telephone, maybe somewhere along the line, they just got it wrong. Nothing nefarious, nothing outrageous, just they got it wrong. Do we know if the interview, I have to imagine that some of the interviews with the surviving roommates were recorded?
No, they were all recorded. Those just haven't been released yet, the actual recordings, because they can redact the paperwork far more quickly than they can the recordings. And so all of them were either audio and or video recorded. We just don't have those yet. And some of this stuff is probably on body cam too. Because, the first officer gets to the scene. I mean, hell, like think back to the 911 call. Dylan was literally trying to tell the dispatcher, the call taker, there was a man. I need to tell you about what happened at 4 a.m. And the lady's like, no. Like, and no fault, no shade at the call taker at all. I mean, the call taker's job at that point is like, you're telling me somebody's passed out. I got to figure out how to get you help.
Right.
The cops will take care of that later. So yeah, they're all audio and video recorded.
Yeah. And we will get those eventually one day, I imagine. Lillian has a similar question. So are we saying that Dylan never heard someone say, it's okay, I'm here to help you? No, we're saying she did hear that to some variation of that. But the idea that it included the name Kaylee, we don't believe to be true. And in fact, the officers, according to their statement even today, are saying that's not true.
Correct. I mean, and Dylan never said that. An officer thought that another officer told him that maybe another officer told him is kind of, I just go back to telephone game, when you're a kid playing the telephone game, it's kind of like that, Dylan is remarkably consistent in her statements. If you go through the reports, at least about what she heard and what she saw, she does concede and admit that she had a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
She had a lot of alcohol. She had something called a Borg. I learned what a Borg is. I didn't know that. Blackout rage gallon. So she had been playing a drinking game with that. She had some White Claw. She had all this stuff, right? So
college kids don't go out for a couple of glasses of Chardonnay. They are getting after it. Yeah.
And it was game day. It was the big game, right? So and then they all took naps too. They all took naps. That's another thing that came out in the reports. They did their thing, whatever it was that they did. I don't even know if they went to the football game, honestly. They may have just gotten dressed up in their outfits and their Idaho gear. Maybe they went to the game, maybe they didn't. I don't know, but they did. They were at home watching TV or a movie, and then they decided to take naps, and they set their alarms for 8 p.m. And then they were doing that because they were going to take a nap and go out to wherever they were all going. And then Dylan said she woke up and then she had 3 White Claws and then whatever else, right? But she's remarkably consistent, Josh, in that she does say stuff like, I'm still processing what I heard. And I know this happened. She's like, I know this happened because I was texting Bethany and I have the text messages and I have the calls, but she's like, you're wasted, and then you go to bed and you're awakened to this, and then you hear steps, you hear this stuff, and you hear running down the steps. She said that really creepy, the running down the steps, all the girls wore Doc Martens, and it sounded like boots on the steps. That's why she thought it was Keely. And obviously, I think that we can probably figure out that it was Bryan Kohberger wearing boots running down the steps, potentially chasing Xana. We're not 100% sure on that. I know that that's kind of been floated out there. But yeah.
One last question on this, Allie, and I don't know this. It says in chapter 122, Xana's friend Ava noted a mid-October break-in attempt and asked if Bryan Kohberger was nearby, but police didn't respond. Do you know what this is about? Do you know what this is referencing?
Can she be more specific in what she means? Chapter 122? Does she mean page or supplement 122? Chapter 122. Are you talking about the book? The Idaho 4 book? I have the book. If I knew what she was talking about, I could
maybe this
figure that out.
Patterson's book. Here it is. In Patterson's book. Xana, I haven't read that.
Oh, yeah. She's talking about what Ava. Okay, so I think what she's talking about is that Ava, correct me if I'm wrong, Allie, because I haven't gotten that far into the book. I'm reading the book, but I haven't made it that far. But I heard or read that Ava told a story about being in her apartment. She lived at the Whites, that apartment where the famous porch picture was taken. I call it the famous porch picture. And she hear somebody jiggling her doorknob in the middle of the night or something like that. And so we don't know. We know he was in Pullman in October of 2022, but whether or not he was actually there in the area, the Moscow cell phone coverage area, that specific night, we don't know. We won't know that till we get the Nick Balance report and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is funny how this case, when you think that it's there's really not much more to talk about it, more information gets released. I feel like it's going to be something we're going to be talking about for a while because we just start to get this steady trickle of information, and some of it's very interesting, some of it's very enlightening, but and as it happens, we'll continue to bug you and bring you back on here.
You never bug me, Josh. Whenever I see you or Tiffany texting me. I'm like, oh, I got to get back to them.
You're so
When
sweet.
my hair stops being on fire, I'll get back to them.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I know how hard you've been working, and I really appreciate your time here tonight. I'm going to let you go. Are you going to go have a Borg now? Are you going to relax, unwind with a Borg?
Yeah, Angenette does not Borg it.
No, is that a verb? Is that how it's worded? Do you drink a Borg or do you go Borg? I'm not sure.
BORG, Black Outrage Gallon. And
Okay,
what you
so it's
do
a
is,
noun. I just want to
and
be sure.
apparently I learned this today too, reading the reports. Well, actually, I was reading them over the weekend, but basically, you take the gallon and then you put vodka in it and you put something else in there. It was like MIO or something. I'm showing exactly how not hip I am,
Right.
by telling you this, but you mix that together and then it gets rid of the vodka taste and then you do something with it, the Borg. But Angenette doesn't drink alcohol. Angenette is a connoisseur of water. So literally, I educated your people. They didn't know what a Borg is.
You lost me at gallon.
So we're cool now, everybody. We're like hip. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. I don't drink alcohol at all. I only drink water and like other, stuff. Coffee.
Well, go have yourself a Borg's worth of coffee or Diet Pepsi or whatever it is. And thank you again. You got anything coming up? You've got a brand new YouTube channel. I want to make sure people know about it. Anything coming up that people should be on the lookout for?
Well, if I could get my printer to work, I'm trying to print some stuff out so I can do a couple of videos, just throw something together. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's Angenette Levy at Angenette 5. So maybe I'll try to do a live sometime soon. But I like doing the lives. I love doing this stuff, but some people I guess some people like the shorter videos. So, and that takes a lot of work. Yeah. That's a lot of work to do those. And I have to do everything by myself at this point. So maybe, I'm super interested in the Donna Adelson trial and the fact that Donna Adelson wants to keep the snitches from testifying against her. So I guess her jail daughters or something weird. So I don't know. I'm going to be covering that for Law and Crime. And I'll probably try to get some videos out on some other stuff here on my personal channel. How about you?
Same. Figuring it out on a day-to-day basis. One of the ongoing conversations in the Ritter household is, what are we talking about next Wednesday or next Monday, or who's going to be our guest? And I just say, can I please get through today before you worry me about tomorrow?
Yeah, I actually am getting my son ready to start 5th grade.
So fun.
Yeah, so I've got that on my plate. That takes priority.
Our oldest is starting her very first day of TK on Wednesday.
So that's so cute. Oh gosh, Shy Gal 8 says your son was so cute the other night. I was on YouTube Live and he literally came crawling in here and he put his stuffed dog up and I was like, okay, like he was on the floor and he put his stuffed dog up like this and I was like, okay, guys, I gotta shut this down. Like I was.
That's cute. That's cute.
But yeah, I'm covering basically anything I can. So yeah, I'll cover Donna Adelson. I'll cover Billy Wagner. I'll cover whatever. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great being on with your people as always.
We'll talk soon.
All right. See you, Josh.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, you guys, go check out her channel. Angenette 5 is the handle, but just search Angenette Levy and it can come up. She does crime fix for Law and Crime, but she also has her own channel, which you should subscribe to because she does a lot of great content on that as well. All right, let me update you guys onto some stuff coming up this week, give you some announcements, and then get you out of here. We got a few more minutes. First of all, Donna Adelson. I know we were going to get a lot of questions on Donna Adelson. She was in court today for a last-minute hearing. She's starting jury selection tomorrow, and everybody wants to know what happened today. How will that affect the case? Is it a big deal or isn't it? Last week, Wendy Adelson's lawyers filed what's called a motion to quash the subpoena of Donna Adelson's attorneys. So Wendy has been subpoenaed by the prosecution. Wendy has a Fifth Amendment right. Wendy knows that she's under suspicion. She knows she's being investigated. And because of that, she can say, I'm not testifying to nothing. I'm not going in there and talking. I'm going to plead the fifth. The prosecution therefore grants her what's called use immunity. People call it derivative use immunity. Basically means the same thing. They're going to give her immunity so that they take away her argument for using the Fifth Amendment. This immunity grant to her is not a favor to her. She doesn't want it. Believe me, she wants to plead the fifth. She doesn't want to take the stand and testify against her brother and testify against her mother. She wants to go home and hope that the whole world forgets about her. Good luck with that. So the government says, well, we're going to grant you use immunity, meaning you can testify to anything that you say on the stand. We cannot prosecute you or use it against you. We can still prosecute you for other stuff that we know about you, for other information that we have that may implicate you, but not for anything that comes out of your mouth while you're on the stand. We cannot use that against you. Therefore, you don't have a Fifth Amendment issue at play here, and therefore we can compel you to testify. The defense, Donna Adelson's attorneys, have also subpoenaed her, and they also want her to testify. They cannot grant her immunity. So the question became from Wendy Adelson's attorneys, Judge, you got to stop the defense from trying to compel me to take the stand because I do have a Fifth Amendment right when it comes to that testimony that is without immunity granted to it. And Judge Stephen Everett, because he's a smart guy and because he's kind of becoming my spirit animal, says, yes, that's true. I'm going to go ahead and quash the subpoena against Donna Adelson's team. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Donna Adelson can't question Wendy? No, it means they can, but they have to do it through cross-examination. Now, the only thing that does is limits the scope of what they're allowed to ask Wendy, because your cross-examination is limited to the scope, depending on the judge and discretion, to the scope of the direct examination. So prosecution will call Wendy. They'll ask her a bunch of questions. Defense can get up and ask her a bunch of questions regarding those same answers. But now the issue of whether or not they can get into something else, something that the prosecution didn't bring up, the answer is likely no. This was at issue before. She was granted a similar motion, meaning Wendy was, a similar motion back in 2022. So this isn't entirely a new thing. The judge did the right thing. It's not going to affect the case, but Wendy is not going to be called as a new independent direct examination witness for the defense in this case. And so we won't get to hear what it was that they wanted to ask her, though they'll probably try to sneak it in if I know good defense attorneys. Also today was the sentencing of Ihsan and Zara Ali. This is the quote unquote honor killing or attempted honor killing case out of Washington. Am I blanking on that? Washington. Yes. They were sentenced today. This was, of course, for the attempted murder of their daughter, who goes by the name of Fatima. There was some awful videotape of it if you want to check it out. They were not found guilty of the attempted murder. They were found guilty, however. The father was found guilty of assault, false imprisonment, a different type of assault. The mother was found guilty of violating a protective order. So they were found guilty. They were just not found guilty of a crime that would have put them away for a very long time. We talked a little bit about this on the show. It's a difficult case. It's an awful, ugly, horrible case, and it strikes us all in a place that really hurts. But as far as proving the specific intent required to kill, that's where I think things got fuzzy for the jury. So he was sentenced today. He got 14 months. He got the maximum that he could get, which is not going to sound like a lot to you, but he got 14 months for the assault, 12 months for the false imprisonment, another 12 months for a different type of assault. Adding that all together, the way that the court saw it was that he got a total of 20 months. He's already served some time. He's likely going to be out very soon. The mother, Zara, got 12 months for a violation of that protective order, like I said. Plus hers is, again, the way they calculate this in Washington's a little different, but it was seen as she's got 24 months total, but she's basically getting out for time served. She's already done her time. So the only other interesting thing about that today is that the daughter, Fatima, actually read a statement in court that was highly emotionally charged. She talked about how she lived in a home of abuse and referred to her father as a disgusting monster. So lot of damage done to that family. Kimberly Sullivan. This is the woman out of Waterbury, Connecticut. She's going to be back in court tomorrow for a pretrial hearing. This is the woman who held her stepson captive for 20 years. 32-year-old man who finally was able to escape by lighting a fire inside of the home that first responders had to respond to. He was 68 pounds by the time they took him out of that house. She's back in court. She is out of custody. She posted bail, but they're requiring her to be in court tomorrow for a pretrial hearing, and we will get the latest on that. Courtney Clenny, a name that you haven't heard in a while. She's going to be back in court on Wednesday. This is the OnlyFans model from Miami who is accused of stabbing to death her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, back in August of 2022. She's still in custody. She has not posted bail. She's not been granted bail. So she's been in custody since August of 2022. Quite a change in lifestyle for the OnlyFans model, now turned accused murderer. But this whole case is boiled down to a really weird issue with what the prosecution did in a search of a computer. And in the search of that computer, they found communications between the Clennys, her mom and dad, and their attorney, and they did not handle that properly. They did not properly have a clean team, dirty team. The prosecution team saw this. The prosecution team recused themselves. But now Clenny and her team is saying that's not enough. We want the entire Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office removed from the case. I will say, I've seen this before where defense attorneys say, we want the entire prosecutor's office removed from the case. It's also kind of like, careful what you wish for, because that doesn't mean you're going home. That just means another prosecuting office, likely the attorney general's office of that state, will step in and handle the case. And sometimes they got nothing better to do but be very aggressive with your client. So whatever, we'll see how the judge handles that one. I personally think it was already resolved by removing the prosecutor who had the issue. It's a big prosecutor's office. There are probably other attorneys they could assign to this case that aren't infected with that information he learned about. Then another name that you have been hearing about for 30-something years, the Menendez brothers. They are back on both Thursday and Friday because they have been resentenced, and they are now parole eligible, and they are having their first parole hearings. The first one will be on Thursday for Eric, and Lyle is going on Friday for his parole board hearing. If you live in Southern California, please check out ABC 7. I'm going to be on there talking about these on both days. Pretty wild that we are at this place. 30-something years ago, these two young men shotgunned to death their parents, reloaded, put one more in the side of mom's face. And now, 30-something years later, when they were looking at the death penalty originally, they had been sentenced to life without parole. Now they are eligible for parole and going before a parole board. And I will tell you this, there is a very good chance they get granted parole. The parole board does a very different job. They are looking about their main question is recidivism. Are we worried about paroling these people to the outside world? Can they adapt to the outside world? Can they be a contributing and peaceful member of society? And it's not so much about the crime that they committed, though that's not ignored. It's seen as all of the issue with the crime you committed was handled by the idea that you're sitting here right now eligible for parole. You, quote unquote, did your time, and now you're eligible for parole. And so we're going to consider the next question, which is, how have you done since your time in prison? And should you be released to be amongst those who walk free outside of prison? One other interesting thing about this case is that each brother has an independent hearing with independent parole board members. And if you follow where I'm going with this, it's not outside the realm of possibility that they could have different decisions. I would be blown away, but it is not outside the realm of possibilities that one brother could be granted parole and the other could be denied. They have separate parole hearings, separate board members. I just somehow feel that something's not going to line up that way. And then finally, also on Friday, Billy Wagner. He is the fourth member of the Wagner family. He is the final member of the Wagner family who has been prosecuted in the 2016 Pike County massacre, where 8 members of the Roden family lost their lives. I always get yelled at because they say it's actually 7 members of the family plus the fiance, Hannah Gilly. I consider her part of the family. So in my view, 8 members of the Roden family lost their lives in a horrible, horrible massacre in Pike County back in 2016. Jake Wagner, who was one of the gunmen, was convicted and sentenced to 32 years, which is a heartbeat when you consider that they were looking at the death penalty. Angela Wagner got sentenced to 30 years. She's not even considered to be a triggerman. She only got 2 years less than Jake. Rita Newcomb got 5 years probation. Pretty incredible sentences for people who took the lives of 8 people in one evening. Well, Billy is the last man standing. His trial has not been set yet, the date or the location. They're still trying to move it out of Pike County because they say it got too much publicity. We will find out the results of that hopefully on Friday. That is your week to look ahead to. Johnny Knoxville says, well, if the M brothers got paroled, the judge just threw out the jury's sentence. So much for a justice system. I don't think I entirely disagree with you there, Johnny. It's a pretty remarkable turn of events in this case. All right. First of all, check out the Courtroom Confidential website. If you want to leave us a message for this Sunday Fun Day, you can click on the Leave Us a Message tab. If you want to join our membership, you can click on the Membership tab. Find out all about the benefits of that. And then if you click on the Merch tab, you can find out about all the new merchandise that we have, including brand new colors, brand new types of shirts. We've got some tank tops, and we've got some new tumblers, including this one. This is our Let's Get Juiced big tumbler. What is this? 20 ounces or so. Really love this one. And then this is our, when you need that Pinot on the go tumbler. Also says Let's Get Juiced with the Courtroom Confidential. I'm having a horrible time with the lighting here. Courtroom Confidential logo on it. Both of these are very, very nice, and they are available for you now up on the shop. It's a 20-ounce tumbler and then a hefty pour of Pinot on the go for the wine tumbler. Or you could put an iced coffee in there. Lagoon Blue says, YouTube bad actors. You know where I'm going with this. Minty Sherbert says Bice. Also a very clever name. I like that. Is Tiffany still with us? What is the name of it, Tiffany? Pinot on the go. What is the name? Do we know? Don't tell me Chalky Mint again. That's Kaylin's favorite guess. Peppermint Patty, I see. Seafoam. You think it's called Seafoam. Is this one of the new ones? Seafoam, says Johnny Knoxville. That's cheating. Is this one of the new ones? No. Okay. This is one of the old school ones, but it's still available. Frosted sage, spoiled matcha. So it's Shy Galaxy. Like, I like that. That's good. Spoiled. Where does she go here? Oh, I missed it. Now the things go too fast for me. Anyhow, there we go. Spoiled matcha. It's a really nice color. You guys should check it out. There we go. All right. What else do we got for you? Oh, what you missed this week. On Saturday, we had the weekly roundup. We talked about Donna Adelson. A lot of what we just chatted about right now. Talked about Neha Gupta. This is the woman accused of drowning her own daughter. Her charges were reduced from first degree down to manslaughter, and now I've heard they've been raised back up to second degree murder again. Nicholas Casotis, his conviction on that case. It's a very interesting weekly roundup. Please check it out. And on Sunday Fun Day. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. We put up the chapter titles so you can shoot to the questions you want to hear the most. Coming up this week, starting on Tuesday, like I said, we already streamed today the hearing with Donna. So if you want to check that out, it's up there now on our sister channel, Courtroom Confidential Live Trials. Jury selection starts on Tuesday. We're not going to be streaming jury selection because there's nothing to see. But the second we have opening statements, you're going to be able to watch them on Courtroom Confidential live trials. We hope that you subscribe if you haven't there already. It's our sister channel. We'll put the link to it in the chat for you, and we hope that you set your alerts so you don't miss anything. That is Tuesday is when jury selection begins. Simon Tex 33 says our favorite governor can pardon the Menendez brothers just like the Orange Man pardoned the January 6th insurrectionists. All right, I'm gonna tune up the politics siren on that one, but it is true that Newsom could just step in at any moment that he wanted to. Crime Con is and then Wednesday we're going live again. Again, it's going to be announced. There, I will be here. At least we know that, and I'll be live, and we're going to be talking about true crime upstates. We're trying to put together a guest for you, but live 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. If I didn't already mention it, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, back here on this channel. Crime Con is coming up. We hope that you are able to join us. We remind you every time we go live because we would really love to have a huge group of Courtroom Confidential crew members out there. If you're looking for a discount code, we've got it for you. The discount code is Courtroom, all caps, all one word, to get 10% off your canal cream. And if you needed any other excuse, we got nominated. Courtroom Confidential, this little channel with our string and scotch tape holding it all together. Just me, Tiffany, and Kaylin yelling at each other to get things done every single day. Got nominated for podcast Outstanding Episodic Series. We are very thrilled. We are humbled, and we are touched. And so we will be there and cheering on everybody who was nominated along with us. And so I hope that you guys join us out there. Let me thank some of our newest members: Albert Lee III, Nana Wolf, Samantha N, Michelle LA67, Pita 43, Birdie B, Jana, Sarah Majerick, Gerda K, Deborah Clary, Amber C, Alicia, Kylie, Neely, RC Monitor 57, Evermoire, Beach Kid 74, Jay and Wawaza, Debbie, Jane, Wendy Wobbles, Unsilent Bob 420, Side Vance, Lizette Taladay, Dixie Chicken 1969, Troublemaker Baker, Bluebird 711, Rachel L, Debbie Boyd, Sharon Ken Sharp, Pensive Peggy, Cheryl, Mutant Maker, Mary Stevens, Petunia, Aaron Cleggett, Stacy Karras, Jean Dickies, and Amy Murray. You guys are all fantastic, and we welcome you all to the Courtroom Confidential family. And Emily says that she will, what did I do here? Emily says that she will see us at CrimeCon with Paul. We look forward to it. All right, everybody. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your night. What is it? It's only Monday. Can you believe it? Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. We will see you on Wednesday. Thank you to Kaylin. Thank you to Tiffany. Thank you to our mods, Afton, Sonia, Kathy, and therapists. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.